Hello, everybody. Welcome to Theatre 2. The next topic is how to start your journey in talent analytics. My name is Rory Stewart. I'm the head of consulting for NetDimensions EMEA, and I will be ably assisted by my beautiful assistant, Gharmounth. And I'll go through some slides to start with, just to give you a kind of flavour, and then Pally will actually get into the nuts and bolts and give you an actual look and feel of what we deal with. So, make sure I don't get the clicker. What is big data? So, analytics and data is the biggest business impact technology in the global marketplace at the moment. It's obviously been led by consumerism, so the likes of Amazon, Netflix, etc. And it's feeding through into other areas. It's affecting a lot more businesses, and specifically HR. So, the HR world, we like to combine a lot of evidence-based data now. And with that, we can use sales data, marketing data, and we can actually look at what are the fundamentals of what your business is doing, where it's failing, where it's actually working. You're using that data to hopefully predict where you need to make changes and make training changes. So that's hopefully what we're going to explain today. We call it the 4 V's. Number 1, volume. There's a lot on there, notably that one here. So my mistake. That one there, in 15 years from now, we're going to have 300 times the data that we currently have. And that's going to affect everybody and everything we do and everything we touch and aware of, and all the technology around the internet. So it's being collated as we speak. I don't like this. Number 2, velocity. So we've actually got, I think this has got a problem, but I'm not touching it. Oops. Yeah, override that. I'm going to put that down. So number 2, velocity. The one to look at with velocity is the one at the bottom left, 2.5 connections per person in the world, okay? It's part of that mesh that we're getting involved in called the internet that would eventually, as some people say, disappear. We won't even realize we're connected. So, next one. Number 3, variety. It's basically connectedness. We're using so much more social media, we're using a lot more commercial media, we're using a lot more organizational media. So organizations are using all of the tools and combining them. And that's allowing us this connectedness and the variety of access. Yeah. Veracity. I didn't know what this meant, so I had to look it up. It's actually the certainty of the data, not the uncertainty of the data, officially. But it's actually looking at the data you've got and actually making the right decision. Can you trust the data, and can you make the right decision based upon it? That's essentially what it's saying. So, how is big data used in HR? I'm going to remind myself how this works through, but you've got data, and from that data you'll have patterns. You'll see patterns. It's recognizing those. From those, you'll get your models. And only when you've got the models can you actually start to predict. So you can actually start to predict what is going to happen with absolutely everything you're looking at from the data perspective. So the bottom point is probably the most important. What is the ROI on all of our training, on the programs that we've put in place? Show of hands. Anybody at level 4 or 5 in their organizations? Anybody? No? So that's actually what I was expecting. I was expecting everybody to be around level 2, level 1, potentially into level 3. So this is all around getting data in the correct format and then using that data in a useful way. So it leads us down the stream towards predictive, and essentially you can start to automate as well. So it's the Valhalla. you got to keep. That's it. And another one. So we've got a lot of changes there, and the one to look at here is reporting features. So 30.7% in a recent study. Basically, people are not getting enough information. We're using reports, but we're not getting the right amount of information. The blue, you'll see the blue one at the bottom. That's why we're in business. That's why everybody is in here, because we're all trying to understand the business impact. Okay, it affects everything. These are pretty standard. This is what we're going to look at whenever you're going to use an analytics tool. This is what you're looking to try and improve upon. Yeah. And again, and one more. And we say it's the first step. So from a first step perspective, we're looking at taking away the traditional cultural usage of just getting Excel spreadsheets, getting a report on an email, which you can do nowadays. It's looking at what is the consequence of making decisions, what's the impact to the business, and thirdly, how can we start to automate that into the business? You want to have acceptance into the business that these decisions are correct. Oh, one more. So moving forward. Oh, back one. There we go. That tip should come up, actually. Moving forward, start with a well-defined core problem to address. Self-evident, I think. All of these are pretty self-evident. Secure the sponsors that you need within the business. Plan and use the tools that you have at your disposal, whether you're purchasing already, whether you're using some already or whether you're going to purchase some. Define the roadmap with small wins. And the little tip that comes up there is actually use small wins to push your agenda to increase growth and reduce costs. That's why you're using the tool. And then communicate the value across the organization. Again, self-evident in what you're trying to do. Oh, the tip came up. There you go. Start with small data and small wins. So lastly, it's just to go through some of the use cases that we've been dealing with. This is some we can't mention. This is a major healthcare provider in the UK. They didn't actually look at a software tool. They wanted to just change their internal practices. They recognized that they were too immature to use a software tool. So they consulted with us, and we redefined their practices on how they're taking the data and using Excel spreadsheets to produce outputs that they're looking for and charting. So it's a very base level, but it's essentially their stepping stone to start using tools. The one on the left is a long-standing client of ours, ING Bank. They've actually gone through all three of these examples, have gone through a NetDimensions Analytics program. So they've gone through a process of introduction into what the data or how the data is relevant to them as a business. They then expanded that into using predictive analytics. So from that, they're able to make the right choices. Essentially, it's the same message, but they've done it in different ways. And again, we've got an American model here where we're using in-house analytics expertise. They had people using analytics in place in separate areas of the business, and they realized that they could use these experts in HR. So they started using that in an internal process, and it's actually worked for them in a very positive way, and their growth has gone actually at least 2 or 3 times upwards. So I'm going to hand over to the better looking one, Pally, and I'll go off to the side if you've got any questions, and I'll jump in.
Hello, testing. Yeah. My name's Pally Gharmounth, working with Rory on NetDimensions Talent Analytics, and I'm going to give you a quick demonstration of how we can actually take learning data that's been generated historically in the system and even present data and summarize that and show you exactly what's happening in your talent management system. So the case study here is we want to look at how much we're spending on training and what courses people have done and what departments we're actually spending that data in. So we've got a BI platform tool on top of our talent management system that allows business users, administrators to actually delve into the data and actually see what's happening in there. So I'm going to log into the system on our platform. I shall create an ad hoc view, and just one second.
I should point out this is the administration interface. This is not the user interface. So it's more the in-depth analysis we're doing here.
So in this demo, I have got an ad hoc domain around training history. So I'll say I want to actually analyze that data behind that. I can choose the fields that I want. So in this instance, I'm really interested in the cost of training. So I shall drag that as a selectable measure that I want to analyze. I want to actually see in terms of time period, the enrollment year to see when that training took place. I also want to look at the student status to see what the end result was of that training, so you can actually quantify how much money you're spending on completed training, on failed training, etc. You might want to segment that data by the organizational structure. So in our talent management system, we store a hierarchical model of the organizational structure, and we can segment that data to any part of it. So for this demo, I've got the organizational level 1, and I also want to look at maybe the vendor. So how much money am I spending on training per vendor per year? I can drag that, and I can also drag external data. So what I've done is I've linked in external data from a HR system to actually show the day rate of the learner. So that person is in the business, so send them on training. There's a cost associated with the course, but also for them to actually attend that training. So that's one business day that they can't do on their job. So we can drag that in, and we can also drag the duration of the course. So then what I can start doing is I can start dragging dimensions, what I want to segment my data by. So enrollment share is one of them. The student status is another. And then I can actually drag the cost of training into that. And this is looking at all the historical data that all that training's been delivered up until now. So then I can say I want to filter on a particular course status. So I'm actually only interested in deselect all, completed, cancelled, failed, and no-show statuses. And this is a tool that's actually, we believe, who knows the learning management system better than anybody else. It's the people that work in the academies, that push out training, they can actually analyse to see what they're actually spending on training. So I've got data going back to 1970s. I'm not really interested in that in this case study, but what I shall pick is data from the last 6 years. Can everybody see that at all, or is it a bit too faint? Yeah. So full data. So in a matter of minutes, you're able to create a report and actually see the cost of training for a particular year by particular status. So in this instance, in this data set, we spent 40 million euros on training over the past 6 years on completed training. Then you might want to start to ask, actually, that's quite a lot of money. Where did that training go? What departments, what vendor, and et cetera, et cetera. So we can do that. I can actually drag in the organizational level as a dimension. drill down and you can actually see you spent the most amount of money. I'll just make this slightly bigger. So in terms of completed training, IT spent the most in terms of training budgets. So 38 million euros. Then what you want to start doing is actually find out the content of that training, what training was actually delivered to that end learner, and was it the right training for their job role, for what they're trying to achieve in the organisation. Then you can start looking at, actually, we can integrate data from what were the sales like for IT. If they were selling IT services, what were the sales figures like for 2000 and, well, if you drill down into here for IT, you can actually feed data into our BI platform to say what the sales are like, and then you can see, actually, if I'm generating, I don't know, £10 million of revenue for 2 different years, the same revenue, but spending different amounts of training, you want to actually look at the content of what you're actually delivering. And this is where you actually really need to actually understand how the LMS has been used. The data can tell you how your LMS has been used. What I can also do is actually I can create a calculated measure. So I want to actually look at the day rate, multiply that by the duration to see actually how much that costs me in sort of business revenue. So I can create a calculated measure. I can do day rate multiplied by the cost. The day rate multiplied by the duration of the course. Create a measure. I've got the new measure. I should have edited it, and I can call it, I'll call it the business cost. Then I can use that onto my report. And right now, this is looking at a data set that we've got, I think, 9 million records in our transcript table. So that's 9 million records that's actually processing pretty responsively. So as you can see, you can have a look at the failed training, as you can see, and then the actual cost to the business. Well, that's the cost of the training, and that's the cost to the business. Okay. What we can do is we can switch to graphical analysis quite easily. So I can say I want to create a chart. I should choose that. I've just got to rejig my components on here. So what I've got now is a visual analysis of training costs. And what I can see from that chart is I can filter them just like I did in the previous cross-tab analysis, but I can see what was the cost of completed training. That's about 9.4 million in 2012. Then you can further segment that by organisational unit, the type of course, the vendor, the trainer that delivered it as well. So I can say, actually, you know what? I know that. What I'm really interested in actually finding out what the cancellation cost and failure costs were. So I can deselect that, and you can actually drill down into actually different dimensions into your data sets. And that's just one aspect of this demonstration, but that's just training costs is just one aspect. The other aspect is looking at what content you've got and what's been delivered. We had a case study with one of our clients, and they had about, I think, 30,000 courses in their catalogue worldwide. So it's not an unusual number because, you know, a global company with 60,000 employees, you'd expect a variety of courses. But when I actually segmented that data by the UK market, they had 6,000 courses. So 6,000 courses for the UK market. But when you looked at actually the training in terms of what's actually been delivered for those actually delivered and completed by people in the UK, only 900 courses had actually been used. So then, you know, you think you've got 5,000 courses which are not being used. So, you know, then it asks the question, is there content in the 5,000 courses you've got that you should be delivering? Or is there some content you're delivering in the actual smaller set of 900 that actually can be replaced with that? So it's until you know this, you can't decide what to actually do about your data. So that's just what I wanted to put across in terms of, you know, anybody's running a talent management system, you need to start looking at your data to see how your talent management's being used, see what content's been delivered, what the reach is, what the cost is, and ultimately what the return on investment is. If you're spending, take a figure, in that case study we had, 11 million euros a year on training. You ask yourself, what's the content? You want to make sure your content's aligned with the business objectives, so that then the people have got the necessary skills and training to actually move the organisation forward and the departments forward. Okay.
We'll show the user interface as well. It's worth showing.
Yeah.
So this is the administration interface, and what you're looking to do is certain people are going to be, let's say, power users within the organisation will want certain charts exposed to them within a product. Yeah. We've done it with our own product.
Yeah. So what we've got there is we've actually used the analytical platform inside itself. What we can do is actually integrate that into our core platform. So we've got our Talent Suite application, where users go in and learn the actual talent management system, and we can embed reporting BI components into that platform. Not only can we do that, we can actually export these components into your own portal system. So you'll have senior managers, people who don't use it. Well, everybody should be using a talent management system, but there might be senior managers that don't use a talent management system on a day-to-day basis, but they need to actually see the data behind that. And what we can do is extract these UI components, the data behind them, into your own portal systems and make that available to those. So that's it.
It's worth showing that these are live charts, I think. So you can just use the same modeling that we've done before on the main interface, and you can deselect for the user or as a power user. So, any questions on anything you've seen? Please come and see us at the stand at NetDimensions, right at the front door. And thank you very much for your time.